Thank you very much. Thanks, Nusra, and thanks, Restaurant India, for giving us this opportunity to bring in supply chain to the forefront. It's always a desire and a dream of ours. Wherein supply chain is considered as a back-end operation, it's always considered as a support operation, but then now it's high time that we showcase the strength what supply chain has. Sustainability is not, I would say, a wish anymore. Sustainability has become an important and integral part of everybody's life. Though we are Indians, we have been following for several generations and decades. But today it's important that for survival, we need to imbibe sustainability into our own forefront. What I'm going to do today is we have eminent panelists sitting here. May I request all of you to introduce yourself, and then we will take the subject of supply chain and sustainability ahead from here. Dr. Mala, from you.
Yeah, hello. Good evening, everyone. Now it's almost good evening, so so I'm Dr. Mala Singh. So I represent Indian Green Building Council, CII, which you must be knowing that CII is a more than 150 years old organization. So I'm representing as a chairperson of Mumbai chapter, and also I'm advisory board member of HPMF. That is also my another, the introduction. And of course, IGBC is propagating green building movement across the country since decades from 2001 onwards, starting its journey with one structure, one building in the Hyderabad, Shiraji Godrej Business Center. Today we have 14.75 billion square feet across the country, which includes your hotels, hospitality sector, residential, commercial, retail and other spaces, infrastructure projects. So this is what the movement is going on, and I think let me, Nitinji, start the discussion. So, yeah.
I will. Before that, Dr. Mala Singh is one of the most respected sustainability person in the world, and India is proud to have Dr. Singh with us. And thank you very much for being part of this panel, ma'am.
Thanks for your kind words, Nitinji.
Hi. I know this is the last session and many people are asleep. But for those of you who are not asleep, I'll still try to tell you what it is I do to make a living. And my name is Sanjay Kumar. The beard is missing. It was there once upon a time when this picture was clicked. So I founded this company called Russell's Private Limited. We are now the largest contract food service company in India. Indian owned. Sodexo and Compass, they are bigger than us. We have about 4,200 employees in our business, and we do a revenue of about 500 crores. The reason this subject is of interest is because of the 500 crores revenue that we do, 67% is cost of goods sold. And what does that include? Basically agricultural commodities and perishables, fruits, vegetables. And today we will talk in this panel more around that. I am not a hotel industry professional and neither a food industry professional, so I'm eminently unqualified to be having this conversation today. I've worked in oil and gas all my life. I was in Royal Dutch Shell for 18 years in 4 different countries, Netherlands, UK, Oman, Malaysia and India. And then I was heading a tech company which was listed in Paris called Altron Technologies in aviation engineering and avionics. Little bit of mechanical engineering. We grew that business in India to about 3,000 engineers. It was Altron Group's most profitable venture in the world out of the 17 countries they were. And then I moved to Elior when we acquired 2 companies in the contract catering business and helped Elior, which was another French company, set up their business in India. And during COVID, as you heard in the previous panel, it was a life-changing moment for this industry, food and beverages and hotels. The joint venture partner for one of the JVs decided to exit. And when they exited, they literally threw this business away. And at that time, the original founders called me to see if I would be interested to come back to them. And it is then that I decided to raise capital to do a leveraged buyout of a company called CRCL. It was the first time in India that an LBO took place in this sector. And that leveraged buyout resulted in the formation of Russell's, which is the reason that Nitin thought it's probably worth having me here today. So thank you very much, Nitin.
Namaskar, good evening everyone. Myself Gurtej Singh Matharu. I represent Zupa Hotels and Resorts. I have 14 years of experience working with some of the finest hotel chains across India and been an integral part of Zupa Hotels from last 7 years. We operate and manage some of the finest resorts across Maharashtra and now we're making mark in Central India. Looking forward for a great conversation with the panel members and really very happy to have. Thank you Mr. Nitin, thank you Restaurant India. Looking forward for some great conversation. Thank you.
No, thanks, Gurtej. So the dynamics have changed since the time the COVID took place in the world. Thinking about supply chain, thinking about sustainability, thinking about bringing in foods has changed. Even the style and model which we do, and even I would say bringing in food, storage of food, transportation of food, logistics, everything is changed. If you talk about guest expectations, they are also changed. They started looking for traceability. They started looking for source. They started also thinking about what are you doing towards farm to fork. Even individuals who run the organizations are very, very particular about what they bring in to the table. The suppliers' credibility, there are a lot of audits which have started happening which were not there. India has become very careful. FDA standards, FSSAI standards have become very, very stringent. There are the FBO norms which FSSAI introduced in 2011, which started implementing in 2013. Today, I would say they are liberal and they are very, very flexible. But there will be a moment wherein I'm one of the advisory board members to FSSAI. Hence, I'm saying this with a lot of integrity and honesty, that in next 5 years, the things are going to be changing very, very drastically. It is going to be extremely important to follow documentation, processes, procedures, food safety. All of that is going to be will become very important. So this dynamic hospitality operations now has made us think differently. And on that basis, this panel for next 30 minutes, we will try to understand what are we doing, how can we be different, and how can we assist the thought of, I would say, even our Indian government to be the best in next few years. 2047, we want to be a developed country. We are at the moment the 4th largest in terms of, I would say, GDP. But then how can we reach the number 3, the third economy in the world, say next 2 years, and then how we can help from the hospitality industry in terms of ESG, in terms of sustainability, in terms of food safety, so then we can go to the next level. My first question to you, Gurtej, it's, you work for Central India, and normally Central India was not very, very famous for hospitality. Most of the hotels were in the, I would say, in the coastal part, or maybe in major cities. Now suddenly Bhopal has come into a picture. If you can tell me what your organization does in terms of farm to fork, and what does it truly mean to a hotel like yours? Also, what hurdles do you face when you have to introduce local farmers or small suppliers to your organization?
Excellent question. I feel I'll answer your second question first. The hurdles which a hotel faces when it comes to supporting the local farmers or the local product. I'll go point by point. I think the first point is consistency. We all know the local farmers work with nature, but the hotels work with fixed menus and guest expectations. The second is quality. When I say quality, it is about their infrastructure of sorting, grading and storage. And also logistic becomes a big problem. Logistic becomes a big problem from where the grain is being sourced or the product is being sourced and how is it delivered. And apart from then comes the compliances, the FSSAI norms, the documentation, the batch reports which hotel may require to fulfill them. And no one better than you will know the process behind procuring a product for a hotel. I also feel another important part is the price factor. as we know, the small farmers will always have a deviation in prices and will not be able to or able to supply goods when the hotel has high demand for them. Apart from this, small practices can make a difference. Like we at our Bhopal property recently launched have made a practice that at least our staff cafeteria sourcing should be done from the local market. Out in Bhopal, we call it the local market as Haat Bazaar, and all the tier 3 cities have a Haat Bazaar across them. So what we've done is the 90% of the procurement of grains, cereal and vegetable is done from that market. So at least a good practice should begin from home is my take.
But is it just for the staff cafeteria?
As of now, for the staff cafeteria, but yes, I'll tell the farm to fork concept is the new thing in hotels. But when we tell farm to fork, this is a concept which is coming, but a conscious eating, which I say is a better word to it, right? Because it's becoming the talk, and it's also the moment of awareness for everyone, which everyone is very now focusing on it. So when we talk about farm to fork, we try and do a lot of small activities as of now. Maybe a high tea session for our guest, maybe a plucking session from the farms which we have around, and then make your own salads, make your own dish. And definitely years down the line, farm to fork will be a concept which will be most practiced and talked about thing in our F&B industry.
So I have one more further question to it. Now, see, you work for an organization and you are one of the employees. Is there similar thought your owners also have, or do they support this, or they are not?
Excellent question, Nitin. I believe, as I said, conscious eating, and in today's world, luxury is coming with responsibility. So people who are more traveled, people who are more aware are talking about this and taking this into consideration. And also it gives us an opportunity to build an ecosystem around us and support the local community. Since hotel industry, we always work with manpower in and around the place, so that also facilitates this thought.
Okay. Well, brilliant. Dr. Mala Singh, my question to you, you've been in sustainable practices for several years. In fact, the company which you have set up does that for several industries, not just for the hospitality industry. You started with building, and then thereafter you have moved on to hotels, and soon you have another dream of having it into restaurants and catering companies. You are really respected when it comes to the sustainable practices. In fact, the manuals which you have written have become really talk of the town. Most of us refer to it to understand the sustainable practices in the hospitality industry. So in your experience, what are the most impactful sustainable practices that hotels can implement to strengthen the farm to fork ecosystem? Now, Gurtesh talked about his experience. What do you think the hotel should do?
Yeah, Nitinji, very nice question. But I think these practices or sustainability, all around we are talking about, but very important to understand that why we are talking about this.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's understand what is sustainability first of all.
Exactly, because from the morning I was just listening the previous panelists also, they were discussing challenges. They were discussing their business propositions. They were discussing their, business challenges. But is there anyone who are talking about the climate change challenges? Why we are talking about sustainability? Because there is a climate challenge. There are climate issues, global warming. We are talking about pollution. We are talking about scarcity of resources. That's what you are talking about. Just my colleague has talked about local sourcing. You said that you are empowering local farmers. You are ensuring food safety. Why we are talking all these subjects? Because this is what the climate, this issue is so important that every industry, it is large scalability of hotel, hospitality, or maybe a small restaurant, or maybe a small dining space. How each and every stakeholder from the hospitality understand the importance of this issue. Then it's a then supply chain, that is a methodology. What do you apply the methodology depending on the typology of business you are doing? Because it is again case to case. When it comes to a hotel, So suppose for example there is a Taj or ITC, or I can say 100 names of various hotel chains. So they have a different way of looking into the practices when they talk about sustainability, because they have policy integration, they have sort of investor implications, financial obligations to have some sort of framework on sustainability issues. They are supposed to do it. And there are some regulatory framework which are very important they are supposed to do when it comes to material procurement, or it comes to their pollution aspects like recycling, reuse, wastewater, using all the resources efficiently like that. So it depends and when it comes to the restaurant, small dining space or large restaurant, so even the catering, even the cafes, anything you ask me, I think each and every component of this sector is having environmental impact. So it is not just, the hotel, or it is a restaurant, or it is a catering. I would say every sector is contributing to carbon emissions. If you just look back, pre-industrial era where we were not talking about carbon emissions. But today, if you see the latest statistics, we have reached to 430 ppm, okay, the carbon, the scalability of carbon. This is what the Honorable Prime Minister has set up, that Panchamrit goals, 5 commitments to our country, which talks about net zero by 2070. He has set the goal for intensity of carbon emission reduction. So the point here is how the hospitality industry or a restaurant owner or a dining space owner, how they also look from that perspective and contribute not only for their business, but also contributing in the national agenda. And contributing something which is not good for their business, but good for environment, good for business, good for the future generation. So we need to see this entire subject very holistically. And when it comes to that very nice subject, for this discussion, because I'm also Maharashtra's farmer and I'm also doing a lot of, organic farming. So when it comes from farm to fork, so I think this entire the process from your farming, when you do the farming, who are doing the farming, what practices the people are adopting when they do the farming, everything matters. And when everything being transported, where it is being stored, and what kind of warehouse structures, cold storage, because in this entire supply chain, at each and every stage, you are generating carbon emissions. You are using water, you are using resources. Even sometime, you are also disturbing biodiversity. Because when you build large warehouses and storage facility, you cut down the trees, you do a lot of stuff, which is really having environmental impact. So sustainability is not just on my table, okay? And let me tell you the fact that if you see the current statistics, the waste is the critical aspect of the sustainability which comes from the hospitality industry. 28% of the global waste, 28%, okay, I'm counting here, that comes from your sector. 28%. And every year, how much we are adding? Let me tell you, it's a 185 million tons of the carbon emissions we are adding every year. And let me tell you, our carbon budget is also going to finish. We are already standing on the tipping point. So I will not speak on planetary boundaries and other stuff in this program. But I'm just trying to, put my point in such a way that this industry, because we always talk about green buildings, we talk about green products, technologies like that, but hospitality industry must address climate change now using this green supply chain process in such a way, so every step you understand, you do the inventory of your carbon emissions, you become more responsible, you look into your ESG integration. I know that small restaurant or small dining space, they don't even know about ESG and other things. Only Taj or ITC group they can talk about, or listed companies can talk about.
Yeah. So ma'am,
Yeah.
so what do you think hotels should do to
So that's what whenever we talk about sustainability, the top, we need to always analyze that what is the materiality subject for us. So when we talk about hotel industry, let me tell you one thing is the waste, especially when it talks about the restaurant. Because in the hotel, it is again a different portfolio. Because you have a large facility where you use a lot of energy, lot of electricity consumption, lot of water consumption, you are, generating lot of waste. And even you are constructing a hotel, you are retrofitting a hotel, so you are again using a lot of resources. So how you see the green aspect of that, how do you take certifications, standards integration. So there are multiple facets, which could be integrated, either it is a hotel or if it is a restaurant, then it is more about the waste. Even your catering also and cafes, it is more about the waste.
So, ma'am, it's a new world now. We're in Gen Z, Gen Next, and we are all from the previous generations. So, is there a change in thought now wherein people
Yeah.
think differently?
Yes,
Is it
of
become
course, it's
a
happening.
survival activity, or it's just a tick
Yeah.
mark activity still?
So I'll tell you, this particular, the buzz, since last, I think 5 years, you must be observing that even, the customer is also demanding for eco facilities. They want to, use eco hotels. So now it is not just, eco is not just a brand name for a hotel. Because previously, the hotel people were using eco hotel. I will not say the name of those hotels. But now every hotel is becoming green. Because I have seen that multiple hotel chain, they are having in their ESG policy that every hotel must be green certified. So all those practices which defines their sustainability goals in terms of energy, water conservation, in terms of their waste, recycle and reuse, everything is an integral part of their entire, the practice. From the inception stage of theirs, they are establishing their business. Even the transformation of existing hotel. Not I'm saying the new one. Yeah.
I know India is going through transformation at the moment,
Yeah.
and then it's an eye opener for the next generation.
Yeah. I think one statistics which I forgot to tell you, if you see the complete carbon budget, okay, the global statistics, 8 to 10% is just coming from your just restaurant and your catering service and cafes. I've not added hotel in that. GHG emission, carbon emission, which is the biggest challenge for climate change and global warming. And I will not talk agriculture waste and that methane and other stuff. That is also responsible for
Oh, that's
emissions.
a different
So it's a
subject.
very large subject,
So thank you for your input.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Sanjay Kumar, the question to you. Now, you come from a background which was completely different, and now you are into managing catering, if I understood it right. I have worked for Radhakrishna Hospitality and Sodexo myself, and I'm really glad that there is somebody who's trying to consolidate things. Now, what happens when I worked with previous companies? They had their certain norms which were set for international countries, and then some of them they just wanted us to follow them. Now, you are an Indian, you take care of Indian customers, and you must have created certain norms in terms of policies, procedures, food safety. You tell me, if I can ask you a question, is it a problem to always have consistency in delivery because the supply is not consistent?
Okay, thank you for that question. Yes and no. Okay, the reason I say yes and no, because as a country, we're still at the very early stage of our development cycle, so to speak. And consistency in terms of, there are two parts to it, right? There's the finished product, which is the food that we eat, and then there's the raw material, which goes into producing the food that we eat. Now, if you have to have consistency, you need technology. And I'll tell you how complex that can be. So, for example, as an organization, we produce 340,000 meals every day. Now, let's take a sambar. A sambar in Bangalore, in Pune, in Bhubaneswar is going to have a different recipe. Now, what that requires is a different set of ingredients. Now, what that set of ingredients requires, like he mentioned, is a certain set of specifications. Now, we do not have the supply chain efficiency that if you have given a supplier a set of specifications, he will deliver to that. And we face this challenge because you worked in RKHS. So we have clients like Tata Motors, Maruti, Yamaha, Ashok Leyland, Daikin, you name it, across the country. We had a problem in one of our largest clients, which is Maruti, where the bananas were spoiled. And the previous day, the bananas were excellent. And because these bananas were spoiled, there was a tools down, and 7 cars were produced less. It became a serious issue. The Maruti management intervened. There was business loss. And we realized that consistency cannot be secured simply by giving the specification, because there is no accountability in the supply chain. So we built a digital platform for tracking rejections every day. Now, no company in the world has this. So you might think we are very intelligent that we built this app, digital. No country in the world has this problem. That material is not going to be consistent. So we had to build a digital solution to solve our problems, being an Indian company. And today, the lack of consistency is not just because there's lack of accountability in the supply chain. It's a much more complex problem. I was in China a few weeks ago. To serve food in a Foxconn plant where there are 270,000 employees, you need 2 licenses. In any establishment in India that I serve food, be it Hitachi, Daikin, Maruti, Tata Motors, you name it, the average number of licenses is between 11 to 13 per site. So we serve at 110 sites across India. We need 1,400 licenses to serve food, and we have the worst food safety record in the planet. So this over-regulation is not helping us to build the kind of supply chain that we need to get consistency from the raw material till the finished good, though we have a lot of regulation demanding it. So the answer to your question, that is why it's partially yes and partially no. The no part is these. The yes part is, yes, there is an appetite, there's a desire for all of this, but the ecosystem that can deliver this yet doesn't exist. And therefore, there's a long road ahead to be traversed, and that's where technology will play a role in bridging the gap that currently exists between expectations and reality.
So you think, and I'm sure you would say yes, the technology is going to be transforming the supply chain from now on?
Okay, there again we have, so, you know, within the audience here, you have many people of different ages. What has been this country's single biggest challenge? We got independent 75 years ago, 77, 78. Can anybody in this room tell me how much was the population of this country when we got independent? Would you know? We were 34 crore people. A civilization which is 5,000 years old had 34 crore people living off its land and water that came through its rivers. In the next 78 years, we have added 106 crore people in even lesser land to drink water and cultivate the crops and sustain themselves on those resources. So, technology may be partially the solution, but it has to transcend beyond just superficial supply chain efficiency. And that is impossible. Why? Because farmland, the land holdings are getting fragmented. So you cannot deploy scale. Today when I want to go and get raw materials which have low pesticide content, you'll be surprised you cannot even get 1 out of 15 suppliers. Yet, the good news is that India still consumes about 4 kilograms of pesticide per hectare, not because it is a conscious decision, because it can't be afforded. So it's just getting worse. The more developed the state in India, the higher the level of pesticide. So it's very ironical, very difficult therefore to address or prescribe a solution.
Can I add one thing here?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is what you know, the people are using more pesticides and they want faster production. The reason is also impact of global warming and climate change. Because you know the drought conditions and the weather pattern changes, microclimatic variations, all these things, you know, they also have impact on your agriculture yield. Yeah, like I'm from Himachal, you know, we have a yield of apple there, but right now we know that what's happening, you know, because of these issues. This is the reason that we need to
Right.
address climate risk.
Correct. The catastrophe which has happened in last few months, the floods in Punjab, which we never had heard,
Himachal as well.
even in Himachal, and then what happens every year to Himachal is very destructive. With these mountains, I hope that we have some mountains to see after few years. Because every year there is something or the other keeps on
This is what
happening.
people are growing now, apple, in the poly house, even strawberries, people are, growing in Delhi also in their farmhouse. So I'm just telling you, so, these issues of climate and, so
Yeah,
these
man.
are very, very
You know,
important
just,
to understand.
just a fun point. During Diwali, or sorry, on the day of Dasera, it was raining and people were saying कि हम रावण को डुबाएंगे या उसे जलाएंगे. So it was like that. So imagine that it raining in Diwali in Mumbai, very rare. Gurtej, I'm going to ask you a question now. We have very quickly. Now this farm to fork and local, sustainable, fresh choices, has that made any impact in guest choices, in menu planning, or also in your procurement?
Thank you for the question. I'll just add, farm to fork is a very fancy word which has just been, we've started using it from last 5 years or something. This is actually, farm to fork always has been an ancient practices in our household. So menus were then not planned, they were seasonal. It used to depend upon the harvest you have, So that is what basically farm to fork was. So farm to fork, again I say, holds it is making something look really fancy and promoting luxury, where it was actually very, very basic and it was our daily ritual. So I'll give you an example. In today's world, as I said, conscious eating has come up very well. So transparency is the new currency of trust. So people just want to know from where has the product been sourced. As sir also said, he mentioned very nicely that actually when you go out in the market and try to find the right product, you actually have no options with you. So that comes the farm to fork concept. That is when now even the resorts and hotel industry, they are much interested in making their own, they're harvesting their own vegetables, making their own farms, is to promote the farm to fork concept. But going ahead, definitely it has been a choice of the guests who are coming to our hotels. I'll give you a small example. These days, whenever we travel to any hotels for breakfast these days, the maximum number of audience you'll see is at the health counter. People are now willing to consume amla juice in the morning. They are looking for chia seeds. They've replaced canned juice with fresh juices, is what the guest preference have become. And we live in a time wherein it is strange, but roadside food cart are selling Italian pizza and pasta, and 5-star hotels and resorts are serving bajre ka roti and litti choka in their menus. So this shows the awareness of what the farm to fork concept or our regional cuisines have an important. And also adding to that, there have been excellent awareness creation for millets and other regional products, giving them GI tags, which has actually helped us to know our own products. So with this, I would always say that yes, farm to fork concept and the regional cuisines are now gaining a lot of popularity among all ourselves. Yeah.
Mala ma'am, this question to you specifically, and if you can maybe briefly tell us, institution like IGBC and your own organization, how can they support the greener supply chain, especially for hospitality sector?
Yeah. So green supply chain is very, very important whenever you talk about any green certification process. Okay, because without this aspect, you can't get a certificate. But in India right now, even in IGBC, we have multiple standards, but they are more prone to the facilities, like, buildings, facilities, or interior spaces. Coming to the hospitality sector, right now in IGBC, we have one set for the resort standards, green resort standards, where we include all these food practices and your life cycle assessment, and health and wellness is very important there. Right now, if you see the restaurant and these catering and other these subjects, I think still there is a need of creating a specific framework, because this is at the mass scale, we cannot talk about reduction of GHG emission or becoming net zero just by choosing some hotels or large scalability of hospitality industry, but also, those small dining, restaurant, catering things, So we need a very, very important framework where I believe that if association like HPMF or IGBC or, maybe other, some collaborations or some alliances definitely are going to help for such thing.
Brilliant. No, ma'am, all of us will have to be very careful in terms of what we eat, what we do for future.
Yeah.
Because we just have this one world, ek Prithvi hai. And if we don't do that
Yes.
now, when will we do it? And it's very scary when we look at those videos, especially those AI-generated videos which talks about destruction and
Yeah.
what's going to
So
happen
आपने
in future.
कहावत सुनी है ना, जो हमारे ancestors बोलते थे, बूंद बूंद से घड़ा भरता है, एक one single drop that really matters. So each and every contribution, doesn't matter that it's a small cafe or it is a large restaurant, small restaurant, or it is a big hotel. I think the contribution from each really matters.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
We Indians specifically, or
Yeah.
if we talk about any other say nationality, we were not doing waste at all. We were all following the sustainable practices.
Let me tell you, in the European Union, they have come up with a special tax, for the hotel industry, which they call that, I think you must be, I don't know, some people may feel offending, but that's a waste tax they are putting on the hotel industry.
Oh, brilliant. We need that.
Yeah, it is already in the European Union.
Something has to work. Sanjay sir, I have a question specifically to you. What one policy level or industry level intervention could accelerate responsible sourcing in the Indian hospitality?
So let me understand the question because I'm intellectually not very gifted. What you are asking is what interventions we... Okay. So the question is, are there policy level, or what policy level interventions can enable responsible sourcing? You can spend a day discussing this, but let me try and give it in as short a way as I can. See, anything that we do, over-regulation is always underperformance. Our biggest challenge as an economy in every sector of our business, country is there is over-regulation. And what that does is you find clever ways to get around it. Today we talk about FSSAI, but it's only, even today, it does not have any statutory powers to make enforcements. It has more of a guiding authority. Enforcement is left to a food inspector whose salary will definitely tell you that that's not the job he should be doing. And hence, to your question, the level of intervention that you need is going to be very structural. One. Two, it requires ownership and a participative approach between both the consumption sectors of the society and the regulatory sector. So, broadly, if you were to classify it before I end the answer, you need intervention both from the state, you need support from the users, but most importantly, you need a different architecture which integrates regulation with enforcement and compliance. And today, if you ask me, the point that he made, you can be getting pizzas on the street, but nobody knows how safe it is. And you can be getting a salad in a hotel, and you still don't know if that is safe. So that's the irony of what we have.
So Nitin, I would like to add here. See, regulatory framework is something, that's the macro level intervention, and you must do it, because without that, your licenses and other things affects. But there are voluntarily, contribution from the hoteliers, from the CEOs of restaurants, where they could evolve those practices in their day-to-day, the affair or in their operation. Where, like, for example, single plastic use, if they have, ban on that, or if the packaging is a very, very important aspect, which affects your waste heaps you can avoid to take it to the landfills. So there are practices which could be, the integral part of your operation at all the scalability of restaurants, motels, whatever. Even I have seen some hotels where we have given platinum rating, Viveda Village, very beautiful resort in Nasik, and I was a part of the advisory also there. So I have seen their entire structures also they made with a natural stone. So they sourced it locally. Now the practice they follow, in their wet waste, they segregate their fruit peel and they use that, that they again recycle and use some, face mask, and they are using in a spa. So it is also, individual passion or the kind of leadership, you want to integrate, at the top to bottom or bottom to top. So it's case to case. But I think now the time is, we have shortage of time, so we are already standing on tipping point. So I think every hotel, every restaurant, every catering services must adopt green supply chain practice. They must have a policy, irrespective of government rules or not. This is what we are looking
No,
for.
I agree, ma'am. It's literally time's up for not just the panel discussion, but for us. If we don't do it now, then there is no more days left. So sustainability or the supply chain practices with sustainability is no more a fad. It is important that all of us follow it. It has to become a blueprint of our lives. Every guest expectations has to be met with responsible procurement, and all of us collectively can make it happen. Every step will count, and every step will make a very, very big difference. With this thought, I want to close this panel discussion, and I want to really thank all of you for providing your inputs. The world awaits inputs like these, and when there will be a report, I'm sure it will help all of us and then the industry at large. Thank you very much, ma'am and sirs.
Thank you, Nitinji, and thank you, audience.